Alright, so we did the pencil yesterday, just to review. If you take a rectangle and put another rectangle on top of it, and you center them, and if you want it to be, the right proportions, you could make a hexagon, and then make this the same width as the top part, and this part. And wait a second, who just joined? Okay, nobody. Yeah, so you can make the proportions exact if you want. What it would be, but you don't have to. But two rectangles. Let's make that smaller. A triangle. Now you could click a single time and then pick three sides. You could also click and drag with the shape tool, the polygon tool. And remember, up and down on the keyboard adds more sides or removes number of sides if you press down. The lowest you can have is 3, which gives you a triangle, and then you just fit that up there. Duplicate that, just hold shift and shrink it while keeping the proportions, that way you can put it on the tip. Then for the eraser, you just make a couple rectangles here, and another rectangle as wide as the pencil base, I guess. Then you guess wouldn't hurt to center all of this vertically. Then another rectangle for the eraser. And if you want to round just bottom corners, select just those corner radius controllers by clicking on them, and that's it. And of course, we went into more detail yesterday about adding colors, gradients, but I just want to do a quick example. Just picking whatever colors we have here. Get rid of the stroke. And there you go. A simple one, but we did some other examples. So now let's do one of those alarm clocks. This will be more difficult because now there's a lot more involved than simple shapes. But this is what I'm trying to go for here. Let's do I'll use one of these as a reference. How about this one? Paste. Alright, so we have a clock. Now this is gonna get into using the rotate tool. We'll get into this a little bit more later when we do the mandala or mandala. I always Google how to pronounce it and I always forget. Anyways, this will start as a circle, of course. Now we can flip the fill and the stroke and make the stroke thicker to get just that main circle. Next we're gonna need, I guess we could start with the face, so the numbers and everything. we're gonna wanna put, let's put the number, well, actually, here's what we'll do. I'm not gonna rotate a number around, because if you rotate the number, then the number is gonna be rotated, and that's not what we want. We want them to be upright, so if I rotate like this, we're gonna end up with, let's do, how many degrees do we need to rotate if there's 12, um, oops, oh, that's too many, okay. 36 degrees, right? No, what's, we have to do 360 divided by 12, so that's 30 degrees, right? But we don't want to rotate it because that's what's going to happen. So instead we'll rotate um, this little, maybe a little triangle or little line that will indicate where the number is, and then we'll just move the numbers to those locations. Okay, so now I'm gonna make, if I want to design like this, I'll make another circle, I guess. Copy and paste that. Right, so now let's do the, each hour will be a little triangle. So I'll start with a triangle, flip it upside down, and give it a fill, and make sure this is at the center. So the smart guide should help you at this point. It's, you know, it pops up and lets me know that this is the center. But if it doesn't, just select everything and do a horizontal align center. So we need this here, and we need to rotate it 30 degrees. So I'll select it, and here's the part that you should pay attention. So when I select this triangle and I want to rotate it all the way around, but I want to rotate exactly 30 degrees because we have 12 hours and a circle is 360 degrees total. So if you divide that 360 by 12, you get 30. So that's why we need to rotate each hour 30 degrees to go all the way around. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to grab the rotate tool and find the center of the circle. There it is. It pops up and says center. Once you find it, hold the Alt or Option button on your keyboard. I think on a Mac it's Option. Holding the Option button, if you click that center point, this little window will pop up. This is your rotate options, and here you can choose how many degrees you want to rotate. So I'll put in 30, and you can also preview it to see what it looks like. And you have a choice of either rotating it. So if I say OK, it's just going to rotate that. But if I say copy, it's going to copy it. And then there's a shortcut. If you look at the object transform options here, there's one that says transform again at the very top here. And the shortcut is Control D. If you're on a Mac, that's Command D. And what that does is it repeats the last transformation. And you can see now it rotated that one 30 degrees that way. So if you keep doing that, transform again, it'll keep going around. But instead of clicking, you could just use the shortcut Control D and go all the way around until you went for full circle. Now we have our hour positions. We know where to put them. There's also little lines here between the hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think, well, it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, um, that means we have to rotate what? If we want, how many is that total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 times 4, that's what? 40 plus 24. So, 64 of them total, right? I think there's 64 of those little lines. So 360 divided by 64. No, that can't be right. Okay, I probably counted wrong. Anyways, I'm just gonna guess it. I'm sure I'll get it right. But basically, we need to draw a line right here. We're gonna erase it after, but we're gonna keep the in-between ones. So I'm gonna have a line every, like, I don't know, 10 degrees or something. That's the thing I'm gonna have to guess right now. So I'm gonna have a line going like this, and then I'll just go back and delete the ones that I don't need. So I'll put that line there. Um, Also, it might be a good idea at this point, before we do anything, before we have too many objects on our scene, it's a good idea to start grouping things so they're easier to manage. In case you want to move all these little triangles together, you could maybe select all of them right now. And then say object group. Definitely good idea to group those, and maybe I guess these we don't need to group, they're not really like a bunch of them. But I want to group them because what if I put these lines here and then later I decide, oh, I want to make them thicker. You know, it's gonna be annoying if I try to select them one by one. So by having these grouped, I can just like select the whole thing and then just deselect that line, that line, that line, and then I could just deselect all of those together by shifts, clicking on them. Then it'll leave just these selected. So that's why I like grouping things. Anyways, so I'm gonna draw a line here. Find the center again. And let's rotate. 10 degrees. Let's see what that looks like. That's not enough. That's only gonna put 2. So we want to rotate 5 degrees maybe. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I think we wanted 4, so let's do 6 degrees. So yeah, 6 was what we needed. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6 degrees all the way around. And that makes sense because well, I don't know exactly how many there are, but anyway, 6 degrees, you get 4 lines in between. And then you can delete what you don't need, or just leave it. I don't think it's a big deal that there's like a line here, but if you want, you could go in and delete the 12 lines that you don't need. Anyways, while I do this, try to do the rotate that I did earlier, or try to get to this point at least. Pretty easy. just need a few circles and then the rotate tool. So for the hours, I rotated 30 degrees, and then for these in betweens, I rotated 6 degrees. So you need to find the center, hold the Alt or Option button, and click the center with the object that you want to rotate selected. Right, and I'm gonna group all of these in between lines, so I could just select the whole thing, deselect this, deselect that, and deselect that, and all I'm left with now are these guys. So I could just group those together so I don't have to do that again. Next time I want to select them, I could just click on one, and since it's grouped, it's easier to click on it. And at this point you can put in your numbers. So 12 at the top, and then 1. So these you'll manually have to move them. Again, if you rotate it, you're gonna actually rotate the number. It's no longer gonna be straight or upright. Is there an alternative way to do it so you don't do it like that? I think you could also you could do this. You could draw a circle, right? And on this circle, you could use maybe the type on a path. So there's under the type tool, there's type on a path. You could also switch to type on a path if you simply hold the Option or Alt button. And you can see this is how it's gonna start typing. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, and 12. But they're not really gonna be spaced apart like how we want. So we could well, the 10, 11, 12 are 2 digits, so it's kind of, I'm gonna put a placeholder maybe in their places. Let's put I don't know, X, Y, Z for 10, 11, 12. Then I'm gonna go to the character panel and increase the character spacing, or the, what's it called, tracking. Let's try 600. Nope, not enough. Let's try 1200. Almost there. Let's try 2000. Uh-oh, what happened there? I guess 2000 maybe is too high. Oh no, it's not. It just did it. Okay. 2000. Still not quite enough, so I'm just gonna increment it until it gets to where I need. It's kind of annoying that it's in the way, so let me zoom out a little. And I'll just increase this until they all line up with those hour marks that I placed. And there we go. So at about 2138. It's not perfect though. As you can see, the 4 is not lined up, but the X is, and then if I try to line up the X, the 4 is not really lined up. But it's close enough, I think. 2118. But this is kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't do it this way, because now if I change the font, probably gonna throw the whole thing off. Actually, no, well, kind of. Because you might want to change the font, and then, because some fonts are bigger, by default, it'll mess up the spacing. And also they're rotated. I was gonna get to that next. Obviously we don't want them to be rotated, or else I would have just used the rotate tool. Would have been easier. Um, so in order for them not to be rotated like this, to remain straight, you could go into the type options. I think let's try double clicking on the type tool maybe. Yeah, double click on the type tool, you'll get type on a path options, and instead of effect being rainbow, we'll change it to skew. No, that's not what we want. 3D ribbon, no. Stair step. Yeah, so that's the one we want, stair step. That way they'll be upright. And then XYZ looks like um well, what's going on here? I think that, yeah, spacing's off a little. I need to rotate it first of all, I think, or push the 1 this way. And then the 12 needs to be here, but there we go. I think now X, Y. Okay, the Z is missing, so we need to decrease the spacing. Going down, there's the Z. Okay, that's good. Problem is though, what's gonna happen if I try to put 12 here? Well, since the spacing is so long, I need to actually decrease the space between just those characters. And we'll put that to 0. There's our 12. The Y will be 11. But we need to decrease the space between them again, so character, make that 0. Although I don't like how I don't know, maybe you like that, but let's just do this one. 0. There we go. And anyways, that was a bad idea. Don't do that. I was just trying to see if there's another way to do it if you don't want to manually type 12 and 1. This is just much easier. I don't see why you wouldn't do it this way. Nine, 10. Crap. 10. Don't forget to hold the option button to copy it. 11. And there's our 8. Yeah, nothing wrong with sometimes having to manually do stuff. You don't have to use special tools for everything. That works fine. And took way less time than trying to figure it out with type on the path. Okay, so this is nice. Now I could change the fonts if I want. What would be a nice typeface for a clock? Anyways, let's go with that. And to sort of match that theme, I think I'll make these thinner. Cool, I'll leave this black for now. I'll figure out the colors later. But it's looking like a good start. There's another little clock here. I guess we could just copy paste this one. Maybe I'll do this. Let me copy this over and delete this and delete this line and that line. And yeah, I think that would work. We could take that, and group it together so it's easier to move around, and put that here. Cool. And make sure it's centered, so I'll also group these numbers. All similar things, you know, that you might want to select all together. Just group them together. Just makes things easier. So those are grouped. That's grouped. These are all grouped. These triangles are grouped. Everything is grouped to keep it organized. Also, when it's grouped, I can select all of these and then do a center horizontal and have no issues if I want to center it. If they weren't grouped, all the numbers would get smashed together, so that's why it's another reason why it's good to group things. We need the hands of the clock, so I'll start with a circle right at the center. And it should help you find the center. The smart guides should help you put that circle exactly in the center. Although when you start having more objects on the screen, it gets a little bit more confusing and harder to pinpoint it. So don't forget that you also have options like selecting that circle and then selecting this one, selecting one more time on that so you get this thicker outline, which indicates that it's the key object. And then you can do a center horizontal and center vertical to get that right in the center. Then we need the hands, which I guess that's easy enough. We could start with a square, rotate that 45 degrees, and just bring in these two. Oops. So we need to bring this in and this in, but if you want to do it like evenly from both sides, select both those corners and then use the free transform tool. You could also what else could you do here? You could also where's my bounding box? If your bounding box disappears, well, it didn't really disappear, it's just rotated. So but if you want to reset the bounding box, so you could like stretch this way or like squish it that way, you can go to object, transform, and then reset bounding box. Although it's grayed out at the moment because I need to say first object object shape, expand shape, then it should let me transform, reset bounding box, and then I can do it that way. So the bounding box is those four corners that let you grab it and scale it. When you rotate a shape, the the bounding box rotates with the shape. So if you don't want it to rotate or you want to reset, you just select the shape and say reset bounding box. But newer versions of Illustrator have this thing where you can round corners and everything. Um, but you have to first remove that ability with shape, expand shape, so it no longer has that. Then you can reset the bounding box. Anyway, so we have our hour and minute hand. The hour is a little bit shorter and the minute is taller and thinner. We can also I don't know if it needs rounding, but the corners are a little sharp. So I'll round them a little bit. So just grab that little circle thing and drag it down. Alright, I'm gonna scale that down a little bit. Bring it over here. And stick one end there. Let's actually rotate it. If you want to rotate from this point, just use the rotate tool. Click that point. Oh, I didn't select the middle exactly. So you have to hold the Alt button for it to let you drag that origin point. And there's the center of the circle, I think. Okay, and then you could use this to figure out how much you want to rotate it. Or you could just freehand it. So I'm rotating from that point because I moved the origin. Normally when you draw a shape, the origin where it rotates around is going to be in the center of the shape. So if I rotate it, rotates around the center. But if I click here, now it will rotate around that point. If I hold the Alt button, I can move that again, although this window will pop up. Actually, I'm not sure if you need to hold the Alt button to move it. Like if I just click the rotate tool and click right there. Yeah, I guess you don't need to hold the Alt button. It's just you have to click exactly on the cursor to move it, or otherwise it'll start rotating. Like if you don't get it exact. Okay. Anyways, grab that, put the cursor for the rotate in the center of the circle. Again, it's going to be kind of hard to find it at this point, but maybe outline view helps us. Right, so we're just going to say that's the center. Then we could rotate around that point. I'll take this one and pretty much do the same thing. Go into outline view so it's easier to place that where you want. And there we go. This one also needs a little thing in the middle, so let's copy this, shrink it down, and just try to find the center of that. I guess at this point it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have an actual circle here, although I do have these grouped together. So I could, I guess, center this to the middle of that. So I'll select that, and I'll select these, click on them one more time to make them the key object, center horizontally, center vertically, and then I could move that to the center. Okay, looking good. But let me give you guys some time to try this because that was a lot. So a rotate tool can be tricky at first. But basically, you need the rotate tool, hold Option or Alt to click the point you wish to rotate around. So I'll leave that up there and give you guys maybe um let's see, it's 7:30. I'll give you 10 minutes to try that. I think you need a decent amount of time. See if you can do that. Also give you a chance to ask questions about it. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording. So if you're having trouble with the rotate tool, let me do a more simple example here. We have a circle, so we know where our center is. We have a flower petal. First, let's make sure that's centered. So we grab the flower petal and then grab the rotate tool. So first select the petal or the triangle in the clock. Select that with the selection tool, then switch to the rotate tool while that's selected, and then alt click the center of the circle. And then press rotate, copy, and then Control D to repeat. One more time. Select that, select the rotate tool, find the center and alt click it with the rotate tool. Rotate it however many degrees and hit copy, and then Control D to or Command D to repeat, going all the way around. Makes sense? So select that, grab the rotate tool, alt click the center, rotate and copy. Okay, I'll give you another minute to try that. Cool. Any other questions? Oh, okay. All right. So I think we got all the rotating stuff out of the way. So at this point, maybe group this now, object group, and also let's be familiar with what happens when you group things in the layers panel, because we do have a layers panel. If you open up the layers, you'll notice all your groups are listed. So the image is just this image, and then this group is this whole object, everything in it. So when you group something, it gets grouped into like a sub layer, and you can open that up and then you can see the individual parts of that. And then any other groups in there will also have a little drop down. So here's the numbers, they're in their own group. And here's the, I thought that was the numbers. I don't know why I have two number sets here. That's weird. Let's hide this one. Yeah, that's numbers. Then what's this one? Oh, I see. Oh yeah, we do have two number sets. There's those numbers and then the smaller numbers. That's why there's two. And then there's also the lines in between. Those are grouped together. And the triangles. And if you ever want to go inside the group, you could double click on the group. Now I'm inside this group, and now I could select the pieces inside the group. If I want to go inside this group, I could double click on that one. Now I'm in this group. So definitely get used to grouping things. Alright, so next thing for the clock is, let's do the legs. That should be simple, I guess. I mean, you could just do a line. Give it a rounded cap using the stroke panel. If you don't see options, you gotta click this and then say show options. And then rotate that the correct angle, I guess. Make it move that way a little bit. And you want to copy that over to the other side. So this is where the reflect tool comes in, and it's similar to the rotate tool. So we click on reflect, right? So we have the reflect tool selected, and I also have this leg selected. So with the leg selected and the reflect tool, I'm going to alt click the center, not the center, but the middle of the circle. It just has to be on this middle line down the center, anywhere there. And here it's easy to click on, so I'll alt click, and then you might have to switch to vertical if it's on horizontal, and you can click copy. If you want to make that look like these legs, they're a little bit different. They are wider at this end, so what you could do is use the width tool and make that wider like that. So I'm using the width tool. And then you can make this a silver color by giving it a gradient. So you could apply gradients to strokes as well as fills. Let me expand one of these. So this one is a stroke. This one I'm gonna say object, expand appearance. You could also say path, outline stroke. So this now, you can see if I go into outline view, one of them is a stroke, it's just a single line. The other one's actual shape now. Sometimes these are just easier to work with, but you could apply gradients to either one. So if I select this one, I want to apply gradient, I gotta click on the stroke and then click gradient. And you can change the direction of the gradient, or you could also change how you want the gradient to be applied to the stroke. There's a stroke option in the gradient panel here. This is apply gradient within stroke. There's apply gradient along stroke. And then there's one that says apply gradient across stroke. And I think for this we probably need across, so the third option. And we need more color stops here. So I'll add a few more and just double click on them to make them more gray. There we go. And that looks more like metal. I think that works better with. So the nice thing about doing it with a stroke is I could apply similar gradient to this fill. Let me switch that to the fill, not the stroke. Get rid of the actual stroke. And you could use the gradient tool to change the direction of this, although it's not letting me. Oh, because I have stroke selected. Click on the fill, then you'll be able to change that. So if I try to do the same thing as this, I pretty much have to make that gradient go across the shape like this. But it's like consistent throughout the whole thing. Even though this part's wider, it's the same gradient. But whenever you apply it to a stroke, you can see here that it's like narrower down here. That part's wider. It'll be more obvious if I um, use the width tool to make this more wide. You could see that the gradient kind of stretches with the shape. So maybe it's better to do it as a stroke instead of a shape. Anyways, let's leave it like that. And then I'll replace these more simple ones with this one. Send it to the back with Command Shift left bracket. And I'll reflect it over with the reflect tool. Find the center of the circle, alt click and copy. Speaking of gradients, look at this part here. It kind of looks shiny. Uh, you could manually draw something there to, like, let's see. I could maybe draw another circle right here. Make sure that's centered with the other one. Let's see. I need to make that the key object, but it's a little hard to select. One thing about having strokes is they're um, hard to select because you have to click right on the line. Also, this is all grouped together, so I guess I don't need to worry about that. Since it's grouped together, I could just select the whole group. Click one more time on the group and then center that new circle that I made to it. And then make that thicker a little bit. Make it maybe not white, but like a grayish color. And then I'll just take with this selected, I'm gonna use the eraser. The thing with the eraser is if I have some objects here, let's give it a fill. If I don't select any of them and I grab the eraser and I go like that, I'll erase through all of them. But if I just select, let's say this one, and then I use the eraser, it only erases the one that I have selected. So if you select that gray circle and you grab the eraser, you could just erase parts of it. So actually that's causing that to happen. So before I do that, let me disconnect. So it's a whole shape right now. It's like a solid shape. The circle is there's no break in the circle anywhere. So I'll just select one of these points and use the cut path at selected anchor point option here. That way it's not a solid circle anymore. There's a cut in it. So I'm going to do that with this one. Snip that there. And the reason why I did that is so now when I erase, it doesn't, that same effect doesn't happen where it's like cutting the whole shape. It's just trimming, or it's cutting the line, chopping up the line here. So I'll just erase parts like there, maybe a bit over there, a little bit more there. Although that doesn't really look shiny. Maybe this one could be a little bit brighter. I'll try one more thing, see if it makes it look like highlights. I'll select them and then switch my width profile to this one. Does that make it look shiny? How about this one? Not really. It doesn't look shiny to me. It just looks weird. Okay, so the other option is select that the black circle. So I'm gonna have to double click to go into the group. So I could select this and apply a gradient to it. But let's make that much darker. So black and white. Maybe black, white, black. And then let's change the stroke here along stroke. Actually no, let's do a cross stroke like we did the other thing. A cross stroke, and then move that, I don't know, a little bit that way, and also let's make it less white. A little bit of gray there. To make it look kind of 3D and shiny. Could add more if you think it helps. And then play with the color stops, move them around, see what you like. I think I'll stick with that. I'll double click to get out of the group. Next, let's do the rest of this. So this part's kind of tricky because I don't have any like simple ways to do it using shapes. We just have to use the direct selection tool or the pen tool to create this shape. Right, I don't know if there's actually, maybe we can. If okay, for this shape here, again, if you don't want to use the pen tool and actually try to draw it, which should probably be the quickest, easiest way to do it. And if you wanted like perfectly symmetrical, you could bring this to the center of the clock, but it's kind of hard to find it now. Make it a little bit thinner. So you'd have to use the reflect tool here. Also make sure this is straight. Okay, you don't want this at an angle because then it won't connect nicely. So make sure that's straight by holding shift and straightening it. Then you can select that and reflect it over. and then select those middle points and connect them with connect selected endpoints. Right, then you have that shape. But I was thinking another way to do it maybe is with a couple rectangles. So rectangle there, and then one more here, and one more here. And then if we I think delete these points and that point. We just need that basically. And then we need to use the shape builder to cut this part. Then connect that and connect that. And it wasn't as clean as I was hoping, but just get rid of these extra points. Anyways, if you have this, you could probably round the corners to get a similar shape to that. But then you'd also need to like bend it a little bit, so you could use object envelope distort, make with warp, and then warp it a little bit with the arc. And then object expand to remove the effect and just keep the shape as it is. And I guess trim off parts of that. Sometimes when you erase a line like this, it distorts it. As you can see, there's like a point here, a point there. But whenever I erase this, kind of adds a new point here, moves that one. So try not to use the eraser on lines like that. Instead, just mark where you want to cut it. Let's say I want to cut it from there. And then just select those two and use the shape builder. And then alt click the part you want to trim. I also need to cut it in half again. So I'll select that and trim off this half. Select that and reflect it. And connect it. Anyways, couple ways to create that shape. We need a couple points. So these, I'll just do a line like this. So let's do it straight first and then we'll rotate it. So a straight line. Make it a little bit thicker. The top part looks like, I don't know, a circle. And another circle, slightly bigger. And those connected and rounded a little bit. And just put that at the tip of this thing. Make them the same color. Shift click, or I'll do that and then flip it. There we go. Actually, that needs to be this color. It also picked up the width profile. I didn't mean to do that. So I'm gonna use the width tool to bring that in. And does not look good. This doesn't need the gradient, I think. Or the gradient should be a different type of gradient or fewer stops. I don't know, if we just make this solid, we don't have to think about it. Anyways, that will be rotated a little bit and placed behind this. Now, if you don't want to see anything here, you could go into this group and um, make sure it has a white fill. That covers everything behind it. So then whenever you put stuff behind it, it'll hide it. Okay, I'm gonna group that and flip it over. And the last thing we need are these bells. So the bell could be a circle with the bottom part, with the bottom point just removed with this button, remove selected anchor point. And then these parts flattened. And then I guess this could be flattened a little bit. And pull that up a little bit. And rotate that a little and shrink it. And flip it. Anyways, my proportions are a little bit off, or maybe I need to move this a little bit this way, and this one a little bit that way, and this needs to be a little bigger. And then we could go in and fix the gradients to make that look a little bit nicer, but I think that's good enough. We're out of time here, but at least we got the whole clock put together. I'm gonna flatten these tips with this width profile. Maybe that's a little too much. Let's just do it manually with the width tool. Make that a little bit thinner, but keep it thicker, like right there. Problem with doing it this way is if I cut this in half again, I flip it over, it kind of acts really wacky. Right? It's not exactly how I want it. So sometimes you have to, there's a reason why you might have to expand. So if I set this width profile and I don't want it to get messed up, make that, make this thinner here too. Move this back a little. So now that I got it how I want, I'll do an object expand appearance. Now it's a shape instead of a stroke. Then I can like flip it without worrying about the width profile messing up. Because now it's a shape, it's not a stroke anymore. And it won't connect in the middle. I guess there's a... Why won't it connect? That's weird. Doesn't want to merge. Okay, what if we use the Pathfinder and then choose Unite? Anyways, who cares? Doesn't want to merge. No big deal. You can't really tell the difference. So I'll just fit this there. Oh, we forgot one thing. The little hammer. Which can just be a little stroke that will give rounded caps. A little line down here. That's thinner. Yeah, that ought to be good. Okay, we're done with the clock. Of course, there's more to do, like add gradients, or I wanted to do the same with this that we did with the pencil. I have a realistic version with like gradients and everything. This one I think needs radial gradient, but you'd have to modify that gradient by stretching it, I think. So stretching it this way and rotating it and scaling it. Always forget which part to grab to scale it. There we go. I should probably just do one and then flip it. So this one, I want it to look a little shinier, so mess with this a little bit. Maybe add one more black. Like that. Then flip it over. Also, I don't think I reflected this over exactly, so I'll do that. And then this doesn't look like it's centered, so make sure that's centered to the circle. Make sure I'll group those, center them to the circle. And I think that's good. Right, but do that, and then give me some different versions. Try one with just solid colors. So it should just be simple as going back, double clicking all the gradients and assigning some kind of solid color to them. add, and just getting rid of these strokes that I have. Anyways, went a little bit past our usual break time again, so my bad. We'll take a break, come back in about 15 minutes. Any questions before we take a break? Just add this to your last assignment. I'm not gonna make a new assignment, just um along with the pencil, throw a couple clocks in there and maybe create some kind of an ad to make it practical. Like a back to school ad or um school's out, something with that involves a clock and a pencil and other elements that you can add if you want. Alright, break time. So for Illustrator 2, I want you guys to use those templates that I gave you to create a label for a product. It doesn't have to be those, you could find other mockups, but let's also look at designing logos because that's part of what you need to do here. Um, from my experience, logos work best when they're simple. There used to be a website, well, they're still there. I used to go, when I was learning graphic design, I would go here to 99 Designs and I would enter logo contest, and I think that's how I kind of got better at designing logos and stuff. Um, Let me see if I could log in. There's no way I'm gonna remember this password though. Oh, actually, okay, I guessed it. Nice. Alright, so the reason why I like this website is, I mean, it's really hard to win a contest, although one of my students did win a contest when I had everyone try it out. As an assignment, I said just go on here and make a logo, and someone actually won like 300 bucks. Uh, so if you go to browse contests here, they basically it's whoever needs a logo, they go here and they hold contests. I think it ranges from, yeah, I guess the cheapest is 190 bucks you could win, but it goes up to like thousands. Um, and basically, different designers will enter a contest to create the best logo for this person. So you'll end up a lot of times just working, creating your logo, and not getting anything for it because they only pick one winner. But it gives you practice and you get to see what other people come up with, and you get to see what clients will be asking for typically when they want to design. But just by seeing other people's work, comparing your own work to theirs, you get ideas and you see what works and what doesn't. So, for example, here's one that's called Your Travel Bug Bestie, a whimsical logo designed for my travel agency, Your Travel Bug Bestie. Right, so someone trying to start a travel agency, they need a logo. So far, it looks like only 3 people submitted designs for this one. Let's see what they are. So, or not 3 people, but 3 designs total. It's 2 people. So there's this one, and some people are really talented here. You can see this person knows how to draw. This looks like a hand-drawn fox. Here's a more simple one, just some text. And they have a fox in here. Most likely the brief here somewhere probably mentions a fox. Otherwise, I don't know why they included a fox. Alright, so your travel bug bestie must have travel bug. My niche is relaxed luxury for family trips and girls trips. Specialize in dream vacations, Greece, Italy, Hawaii. Um, Creative play with travel bug for the logo. Balance of whimsical and luxury. And they like these colors. They want more organic. And here's some design inspiration that they included. Sometimes they attach things, but this, I guess there's no attachments on this one, but additional notes. I feel there are so many travel company logos with an airplane. I would love to try to still have a creative play to showcase travel bug without utilizing an airplane. So they don't want an airplane in the design. So it's good to read that so you don't just jump in and make something that they clearly said they don't want. Let's see what other designs or what other browse contests. A lot of these have no design. I guess this website's not as popular as it used to be. Or maybe I'm just looking at brand new contests. There's sometimes they don't pick any winner, so you could filter guaranteed, so they're guaranteed to pay. And I guess the guaranteed ones have more submissions. There's one called Revive. So in this one, progress not perfection is the slogan. We help women and men with eating disorders. Goal is to help people that have struggled with their health and give them an education and resources to help them take control of their health and revive a community that supports them and allows for full authenticity and was a kind of rehab for people with eating disorders. But they want modern, sophisticated, luxurious. Here's their design inspiration. So from the look of it, looks like they like simple, minimalist logos. That makes it easier for you, less work. but um, but you have to be creative. Let's look at the designs. Right, so I don't know what that is. It's like a stomach and a heart. I don't know, that's what it looks like to me, like a heart inside a stomach. But um, yeah. And it's called Revive, so this one's a medical, like a Red Cross. I don't think that's gonna. This one's got a stomach and a heart. Yeah, it definitely was a stomach that we were seeing here. It's the same artist, and in this one, it's more clearly a stomach. Same person, obsessed with having a stomach in the design. This one's just creative lettering, not really any imagery. Um, it's a fork and a hand hugging a heart with leaves coming out. I mean, it looks cool, but I don't know. This one looks very medical. This one looks very amateur. I'm sure I'm sure you guys can definitely make something nicer than this. This one, I mean, looks cool, but I don't see if there's any hidden imagery in there. Can't really tell. This one's too medical. This is the same as the other one, different color, and that's it. So not too much competition on this one, but there's probably a lot of time left. And it's only 190 bucks if you win. It is, I believe it's guaranteed. 3 days, 16 hours left. Yeah, so that's why there's not too many submissions. So let's go back and find one that's like almost over. And they'll have a lot more submissions. So this is newest first. Let's go least time left first. And let's pick the guaranteed ones. Least time left, so contest is almost over, that means. Right, so this one's got 4 minutes left. It's a blind, so there are blind contests. So designers can't see what the other designers are doing. That kind of keeps the designs more unique. So, because a lot of times people just copy each other's ideas. This one's got 5 hours left. Fully amped electrical. Let's move on to something that's more similar to what we're doing, which is a product label. Personal shopping, dog training. These are blind. Authentic connection, not sure what that is. Beauty contest logo. Mental health. Dental stuff. Car wash. Tony's trucking. Automotive. Elite services. I'm not seeing any products though. There's also, it's not just logo designs here, by the way. I should say logo. I did. There's also other stuff you can do, like book cover designs or packaging and label. Maybe I should do packaging and label. But looks like they're mostly blind. Slice of life beach babe body cream, or slice of life sunset kiss body cream. I guess they have different contests going for different products that the same company has. This one's got 18 designs. So let's look at some ideas here. Let's look at the brief first. So it's called Slice of Life Sunset Kiss Body Cream, Slice of Life Midnight Magic Hydrating Body Cream, 8-ounce fragrance body cream that moisturizes. MSRP $4.99. Sold at Walmart. Target audience female fragrance lovers. It's gonna be more luxury, more detailed, more playful, modern, loud, feminine, and looks like they have a bunch of attachments. So they do have a font that I guess they want you to use. Probably have a logo or something. Maybe the logo is just the text like that. So in this one, you don't really need to design the logo. You just need to design the product. Although I'm seeing people designing the logo. But anyways, point of this, I wanted to look at logo examples, and so I'm gonna filter logos. So let's look at logo and identity. And let's look at least time first. So least time amount for the contest. So these are almost over. We'll have more examples hopefully. Pizza. Let's go to the next page. Not seeing any interesting ones. Or any product anyway. CrossFit Gym. Friendly Bees Honey. Okay, there we go. Friendly Bees Honey. Let's look at this one. There's 77 designs in this one, and they're looking for a logo for obviously honey. Raw, local, sourwood honey is the slogan. They need a label design. Accommodate different sized bottles. Harvested from family farm. Must also have the name Friendly Bees Honey on the label. On the attached label, instead of Uncle Buck's Honey, it would be Friendly Bees. I guess they... yeah, they have an example here, Uncle Buck's. So this example, it's not very simple logo. It looks like it's more of those classic sort of detailed logos. But, I mean, you guys are free to do logos this way, but they take a little more time because there's more detail involved. But there are simple ones here too. And then there's declined logos, so logos that didn't make it, they get dropped early. Let's see what else there is. I guess that was it. There's not really too many. Most of them are blind contests. So let's look at this one. It's got a lot of submissions. So this one's called CCCOOC, e-commerce platform, which sells perfumes, fragrances, fragrance items. Design should be with C only. I have uploaded some references. They just want you to get creative with the letter C. CCCOOC. That's kind of a simple one. There's only so much you can do, right? But no, there's a lot of ways to get creative with something as simple as the letter C. So let's look through these, get some inspiration. It looks cool. I don't know about that one. Looks too techy for perfume. This one seems like it's missing something. This one looks alright, but again, kind of too simple. This one looks more like an E than a C. This one's just bad. No idea what that is. That's too simple. I don't see any. Well, I don't. It's not using any symbol, but they're getting creative with the placement. That's too simple. No. I don't know. They're all very similar though. It's like a maze kind of design. This one's got some texture. See, also the presentation is important. When you don't present your logo, it kind of gets skipped over if you don't present it nicely. Like this one, it helps to have I don't know, a good presentation, but also don't go overboard with it. Anyways, lots of simple designs as you can see here. We could also check highest rated, see which ones that they rated the highest so far. Okay, I kind of agree with this one. Looks pretty cool. It's unique compared to the others. This one's got a little spray thing on top of it. It's probably the same designer, but this more simplified version they like more. The rest of these are not rated as high. Okay. So there's a lot you could do with simple circles. Um, let's see, what could we try here? Let's talk about the if you are gonna use simple shapes, let's talk about the golden ratio, because um, I don't know, I think it looks better when you design stuff using the golden ratio, and basically that means keep your proportions. Um, what is it? 0.168 or 1.618, I think. So if I'm gonna make a circle this size, let's say I was gonna do okay, I always do this example, so if you've seen it before, sorry, you're gonna see it again. I'm gonna do a snowman just because it's a very simple idea with some circles. Snowman's gonna be three circles, right? And usually the bottom circle is gonna be bigger. And you could just draw, you could kind of eyeball it how you want it to look. Um, but if you use the golden ratio in this, theoretically it should be more pleasing to the eyes, should look better. Um, I mean, there's a reason why graphic designers have been using it everywhere, so might as well use it because it's not that difficult. Um, Simplest example is National Geographic. So National Geographic has a rectangle as their logo, but it's not just a rectangle, it's a rectangle in the golden ratio, which means that 1.618 number that I mentioned. Why is it 1.618? It's just basically golden ratio is the last, the next number is combination of the previous two, and you start from 1, right? So if this has a width and a height of 1, let me make the stroke on the center here. So if this has a width and a height of 1, the next one is combination of this and the one before it, which would be 0. So next one is also 1, 1 plus 0. But then the next cube should be double the size. So it should basically be the size of two of these combined like this. So the width and the height are doubled for this next square. and we gotta arrange it, I think, like this. So 1, 1, 2, and then the third one is gonna be combination of 2 and 1. So 1 plus 2, we get 3. And then the next one is 3 plus 2. And then the next one is 5 plus 3, and so on. So it's in the golden ratio because it's that number sequence. It's 0, 1, I guess 1 again, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, 11 plus 8, 19, 19 plus 11, 30. Am I doing that right? 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5, oh, it's 13. I knew that's not the right number. 13, 21, what is it, 34? So the way you get the golden ratio with this, what I'm going with here, if you draw a spiral from the center here, okay, we started with which one? We started with this, and then we're going around. I think I kind of went wrong here though. Let me move these apart. So if this was the start, then we go here. Then the next one goes here. The next one goes there. It has to go in a circle, right? So I'm trying to go this way. So starting from there to there to there to there and then to there. Let's go into outline view real quick. Make sure this is aligned properly. Alright, so where am I going with this? If I draw a spiral down the middle, let's make this the same thickness. So a spiral coming from, I guess, the center of this square. Then, actually, we start here. So we're going from there to there to there to there to there and then to there. If I could draw that spiral properly. Anyways, the spiral you get out of that is the same spiral that you see in nature. For some reason, all spirals in nature are this sort of spiral with these proportions. So that's why it's called the golden ratio. And the way you do it is you don't double, you add the next number with the previous number. And then whenever you divide those numbers, so 34 divided by 21, the higher you go, the closer you should get to 1.618. And that's how you get that ratio. So 34 divided by 21, you see it's 1.619, not quite there yet. But again, as you go higher, it gets closer to 618. The first few numbers, like 8 divided by 5, 1.6, 13 divided by 8, 1.62, 21 divided by 13, 1.615. But as you go higher, it'll get closer to 1.618, and it'll sort of stay at that. So quick way to figure out, like, instead of having to make a square and then find out like what the next size should be. Like, these two are in the golden ratio technically, but a quicker way to do it, instead of trying to draw these boxes, is just make any size box and then scale it with object transform scale. Scale it uniformly 161.8% and copy it. So those two are now in the golden ratio. So it should be pretty close to this size, but like I said, the first few numbers are not perfect. So it might not match up perfectly right now. But as you go higher and higher, I think it gets closer to that ratio. Actually, if we make that bigger, flip it around, you can kind of see this box size of this compared to the size of this. It's again size of this one with the previous block. So if you want to use that with the snowman, then instead of just picking random sizes or eyeballing it, you could just take this circle and then say object transform scale 161.8. Now you have two circles that are in the golden ratio. Right, let me center the stroke though. And then like take this one and do it again. Object transform scale 161.8. Right, so now I have a snowman, but I'm using the golden ratio to figure out the size difference between the circles. And yeah, back to National Geographic. So it's very simple, but their rectangle it has a height and width ratio that's in the golden ratio. So it's if we take this square, say object transform scale 161.8, that means the width and the height should be in that ratio. Let me just copy paste it in here so we could check. Copy image, paste. Make that smaller. Anyways, if you align the stroke to the inside or outside, it's gonna make a difference too, slight difference, so might not be exactly the same. but pretty close, right? So that's the most simple example of a logo using the golden ratio. I think supposedly Apple logo uses it. But it's more complicated, just harder to figure out how they're using it. Oh, this one's also really easy to figure out. The iCloud logo. Again, bunch of circles in the golden ratio. We already have a couple here, but it's basically, where is it? Close that one. Copy image, paste it. You can see here it's just some circles and just placed around, but they're all in the golden ratio. There's a logo using golden ratio. So it looks nicer than if you just pick random sizes, I think. So going with your logos, we were talking about coffee cups. So maybe you could use the golden ratio in that coffee cup somehow. Um, I think there was a trick to, you know how Illustrator has a spiral tool, but it's not really golden ratio spiral. Let's look at golden ratio in nature. Let's see a more clear example, like a seashell. Alright, so if I want a spiral that's similar to that, how do I flip this over? Let me flip the shell, object, transform, reflect. Draw a spiral and try to get it to fit that. So when you do use the spiral tool, you can, like, if you hold the control button, you can kind of mess with the spiral a little bit. You could also, if you click, you can pick a radius and a decay rate and segments. Segments don't really matter for this, but I think if you pick a specific radius and decay, you could get it to be in the golden ratio. And then maybe you could use that like in your coffee swirl, right? Because if you're gonna make a coffee logo, you might have a little swirl in the coffee cup. Although I don't know if that's, well, this probably has too many segments. We could just delete this inner segment and that one. Maybe that one too. And by the way, this is not in the golden ratio. I just made a random spiral. Um, then we can give it rounded caps. And then, I don't know, maybe uh, I guess you could have like a top view of a coffee cup as a logo. Something pretty simple. Let me center this real quick. What color should we make the cup? When you're doing logos, also try to um, keep your colors to a minimum. Don't use too many different colors. Think about how easy would it be to make a black and white version of your logo that still looks good. If you're going with the simple look, you need to make it look good in black and white. Um, anyways, that I'm pretty sure if we Google Adobe Illustrator Spiral Tool Decay for golden ratio, someone has figured it out. There's a video on it, but let me just see if there's a simple step-by-step. Decay of 80%. Wait, this is how to make a spiral. It's not how to make a spiral in golden ratio. Anyways, I can't quickly find one, so I'll just draw a spiral that matches this by grabbing the spiral tool and holding the Alt button, and just you can also hold the Shift or the space bar to move if you've already, like when you're drawing it like this, it doesn't move, it just scales it. If you hold space, you can move it. So I'll just move it there and sort of see if I could get it to match. So holding control, holding space, control, space. I mean, it's close. This doesn't have to be exact. I'll just say close enough. But again, I'm sure there's a specific percentage you could put here. Actually, it is pretty close to 60. What is it? 1.618? Maybe 61.8 is what we're looking for here. And maybe that gives us something close to that. I'm just gonna assume yes, that's what it is. Right, it's pretty close. Although, where would we measure this from? From here? I have no idea. Anyways, let's go with that. 61.8 for the decay. Although, if you do 61.8 decay and you make the radius instead of 300, let's do 200. Is it still the same sort of spiral? Yeah, I guess it is. Um, Also with the spiral, if you press up and down, you could add segments and remove segments. So if you want the spiral to spiral deeper, press up or down to not have as many segments. But you could just add more segments in the beginning and then just delete them after, just by clicking one of the points, pressing this button. Although I think I'd like it to have a circle there, so keep that last one. We could also change the width profile. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Okay, so again, simple is key. If you're designing a logo, think simple, but be creative with your simple shapes. So we have that. What else could we do to this without adding too much detail? This is sometimes when it's too simple though, someone already has the same exact idea. That's another problem. But let's fill that. Actually, I don't want this part rounded. Also, whenever you do round these, remember that it makes it hard to scale it whenever you round the edges. It only lets you change the width to, oh, okay, so if it's like rounded this much, okay, now it's okay. That's weird. Now it lets me scale it as much as I want, but sometimes it doesn't because you rounded it too much. Anyway, that could be the logo or the icon for the logo. Then you're gonna have to also come up with some nice text for it. Maybe use the type on a path and have a circle. So if you draw a circle around this, we could grab the type tool, and if you hold the Alt or Option button, you'll switch to type on a path. Or you could just pick type on a path from here and then give it a name. Like, um, what's a coffee name? Golden bean. Oops, I didn't mean to add a stroke. Trying to add or increase the font size. Golden bean, coffee, and then maybe like established something on the bottom. So we could do that with some sort of font that matches. It's kind of tricky at first. Whenever you want to adjust where the text starts, you have to grab this line that you see when you have the selection tool, and you can just pull that. And if you want to write something, and if you see this, where is it? Where's the end? Okay, so there's like an end point. So this indicates that there's text that doesn't fit. You just need to drag that to let the text fit. And I think this is the center. You can just rotate with this. So this is to rotate. This is the start. Also rotates it. And this is the end. If I want to write like established 2023 or whatever, if I do it like this, established 2023, then I kind of have to like space, and then it's gonna be upside down. So that's why it's probably better to duplicate this and paste it in place. And then rotate it all the way around. Ah, it's kind of tricky. Rotate that around. I don't know why it doesn't stay there. Let's grab it from here. Okay. And then established 2023. Now that's upside down, so we have to double click on the type tool. And then change the there's a flip button here. Click on that, preview it. You'll see that it flips over. Let's click OK. And then we could bring that here and maybe scale the circle to pull it out a little. And then decrease the font size. Scale it again. And then, I don't know, just make it look nicer with some more circles or something. You could also use custom brushes. Come up with a nice custom brush that you think would look nice going around. But yeah. I'm not good at coming up with quick logos on the spot like I used to be. But let's try another one. Okay, that's a coffee one. Some other ideas with the circle. Let's try to do a bird. I think did a bird once. So we'll need a few circles. We'll take one circle and copy it over and scale that 161.8. You could also scale down. Instead of 161.8, you could do 61.8. That works the same. Alright, so these are all in the golden ratio. Oh, this reminds me, I think BP logo also, right? BP. Also in the golden ratio, each circle, I think. But anyways, what can we do with these circles? Combine them in some unique ways. we could come up with something that looks like something. It might help to draw a sketch first. I don't have a piece of paper here, but like, what are we trying to draw here? Maybe a bird, right? Maybe if you draw the bird, you might start seeing like where the shapes are, right? Where you might have some circles. So if we do that, then maybe we think, okay, maybe that beak could be a circle somehow. And maybe I'll use this size for that, and then for the head, another circle, right? Another circle for the bottom part of the beak. Maybe it's a parrot. Then you start seeing things in there. Maybe this for the body. And maybe this for the tail. Then just positioning them is gonna be kind of hard to figure out. Um, I might just, I don't know about the tail being this size circle. I might just use the big one for the tail again. Why not? And then where do we put it? Up here? Maybe I need a even bigger one. Oops. Object transform scale 161.8. Make that the same thickness. Maybe there, if you kind of see what I'm doing here, it's kind of looking like a bird. Like if I maybe get rid of this, you might see it better. Or maybe get rid of this part. And then I don't know how this is gonna look, but the tail. Looks like a fat bird. Anyway, if I reposition it just right, maybe it'll start making sense. I kind of see it. Of course, it needs, I need to sit here for hours and try to figure it out. But you get the idea with simple circles. You can come up with different shapes. Maybe a fish would be easier. Well, isn't that the... Anyways, we're out of time. So, but again, I'm not giving you a new assignment, just giving you some more tips on the logo that you might want to create. Because I already assigned something yesterday. But let's see if anyone will incorporate golden ratio into their logo and circles and come up with something interesting. I'll close this. Stop recording.